This morning on 50, living it, loving it, happiness at the half-century mark. A new study finds life apparently looks a little rosier once you hit that magic birthday, which is why I am smiling. Dr. Catherine Berndorf is a psychiatrist and author of The 9 Rooms of Happiness. Stephen Treat is the CEO of the Council for Relationships. Good morning to you both.
Good morning.
So this was no small study. 340,000 people were surveyed. What they found was that people in their 50s generally are happier, experience less stress, and worry less than young adults in their 20s. Surprise to you, or not really? Okay.
Not really. Yes and no. I think partly you think you're getting older, there's more disease, you're closer maybe to death. But I think also there are less worries, and you understand yourself better, and you're feeling better.
Ask the average person at 50 if they'd like to go back to their teenage years or their 20s or their 30s, and you find very quickly that very few would like to do that.
Well, what do you think is driving this happiness?
Well, I think that as you get older, you know yourself. You're more settled in your life, in your career, with your family. And I think also little kids or other people are off your docket. They're out of the house, and you're able to enjoy yourself more, maybe find a new chapter in your life.
But didn't the study indicate that whether the kids are in the house or not didn't matter, that those things were almost irrelevant to whether you're getting happier with age?
Yeah, but I'm not sure I can believe that. From a male perspective, you know, your kids are graduating, they're gone.
Right.
You have the empty nest, you have some time with your spouse, you have some time to actually form the relationship a little bit different way. I think that takes a lot of stress out of a relationship.
Yeah, but Stephen, what's interesting about this is that the research found that positive and negative emotions varied with age in both sexes, but men were happier in general. Do they just tend not to sweat the small stuff as much? Or?
I think there's enormous stress, and there's enormous stress on women also, but enormous stress on men. In 20s and 30s, develop a career, develop an identity, develop a sense of self. They're trying to be good dads. There's no time for themselves. Awful lot of experience says that, you know, if you're hit 40, 50 and you start to relieve some of those pressures, you start to be able to relate, start to have a life, start to have to, you know, really be able to integrate some of the good work you've done in the past and find a little bit different, hopeful future.
But why is that men and not women?
Well, I think, interestingly, biologically, men and women are very different.
Sure.
And we know that it's twice as likely for women, more than men, to have depression and anxiety during their childbearing years. So from menses to menopause, women are 2 times as likely to have depression and anxiety. And I think that the gap closes a little after menopause, past 50 and on, but not entirely. So I think we're biologically predisposed to have a little harder time.
Is that why women reported greater stress, worry, and sadness at all ages?
I think
across
so.
Yeah.
I think there's because of biological differences.
You know, sadness doesn't seem to change much with age. Why is that the case?
Well, I think that sadness is a normal part. Being sad is a normal emotion. It's part of the normal range of things. I think being incredibly sad is a problem, but I think a little bit of sadness helps give perspective on the good stuff. So I think you have it always.
Let me ask you, see, it's interesting that as we age, people tend to focus on the good things in life, but also as you age, you've got the issues like illness and this whole notion of death, mortality. Why doesn't that play into it more?
Well, you know, if you've had a lot of successes and failures in your life, and you've started to integrate those failures, the failures don't add up to as much, they don't have as much power as they do in their 20s and their 30s. And you hit 50s, you have this massive amount of experiences, so you have some limitations. You have some things that have not gone so well, but you have a whole lot of successes in your life, often at age 50, that have helped to balance those things. So you don't take them quite so seriously, you don't take life quite as seriously as you did early on in your life.
What can we learn from this study? What's the takeaway?
Well, I think if we could get perspective, the long-term perspective that we have when we're older, and have it now, we'd be in great shape. I'm not saying that's easy to do, but I think if we could do it now, focus on the little stuff, focus on the good stuff, let the little stuff go, realize that now is it. It's all we've got. Try and live every day to the fullest, which I think you feel more as you age. You appreciate it. You have the gratitude to do it.
So maybe that would dissipate some of the worries and the concerns that we have in our 20s and 30s and 40s.
The other take is to be, you know, in your 50s, you can actually be a little more intentional. You've developed certain parts of yourself in the 20s and 30s. You know, maybe you were really know how to do or produce, but you learn how to actually balance that a lot later on in life and develop other parts of yourself.
All right, Dr. Catherine Berndorf, Stephen Treat, thank you both.